What's up, guys? It's Rick with the Digital Divide. Today we're going to be taking a look at the state of comic book collecting in 2021 and how incredibly expensive and ridiculous it's gotten. Now, this really isn't just isolated to comic books. This really applies to everything, video gaming, anything collectible. And I think the reason everything's so expensive, the two primary reasons are, number one, because of COVID. COVID changed everything. And then number two, we've got the scalping situations. Scalpers or flippers or whatever you want to call them. They buy all of the available inventory to create a scarcity in supply and then resell and create an artificial demand. Now, COVID happened, obviously, and this affected everything. It caused everything to go digital because what happened is that since everyone's afraid to go outside and most governments were in a state of lockdown for the last year or so, there were stay-at-home orders and people were locked at home. They couldn't leave their house. And if retail stores aren't open, that means they can't buy anything. They can't physically go to a store and buy something that they can hold in their hands. And I think now more than ever, we're in a digital age, and I call this current theory the digital effect, where you don't really own anything when you buy it digitally, but if we're all stuck at home, that's the only way we can buy things. So as a result, anything that you can physically hold that is a tangible item in our mind, it's perceived as higher value now. The other issue is scalpers or flippers. They create an artificial scarcity of items by buying up all the available inventory and then reselling them at a higher cost. The way that supply and demand is supposed to work is that if the supply is really low and the demand is really high, then the product is more expensive as a result because it's harder to find, and most of the time value is based on rarity or scarcity. But scalpers are creating an artificial demand because they are inflating that. So say, for example, there's 50,000 comic books released for a specific book and there's 50,000 people that want it, then supply meets demand. But what happens is scalpers are buying up all of the available inventory so that the people that want the book and otherwise would have been able to get it no longer have the ability to do so. So as a result, they create a scarcity of supply that otherwise would have been adequate. The example I like to use here is Ultimate Fallout 4, which is the first appearance of Miles Morales. Some people are equating this to the Hulk 181, which I think is laughable and an insult to that comic book. But let's use this as an example. Now, this book released in 2011, so it's a super modern book. And based on my research, the print run on the first edition was approximately 74,000 units, so it was a really high print run, meaning it's not hard to find. And because the book is so modern, not only is it not hard to find, but it's really easy to find one in good condition because it's so new. If you compare that to Hulk 181, for example, which released in 1974, the reason this book is so valuable is because it's the first full appearance of Wolverine, which is one of the most beloved characters in history, whereas Miles Morales is a relatively new character and he doesn't have the decades worth of history that other Marvel characters have. Not only that, but because this is such an old book, and because this book was released before the explosion in popularity for superheroes, finding a copy is really hard to do, yet alone finding a copy that's in 9.8 condition or in really good shape. So that's why books are supposed to be valuable, not because people are trying to make a quick buck by buying up all of the available supply and then reselling them. Now, I said before that there are two main reasons why comic books are exploding in price, and I said COVID was the first and then the second is scalpers, and that's true, but there is also a third reason. So yes, the explosion in popularity, specifically with all the Marvel movies. So superhero movies are not a new thing, but good ones are. I think really the 89 Batman that came out really popularized, and the old Superman movies to a lesser extent popularized or made it more acceptable to be into superhero lore or comic books. But not until Iron Man came out and the Marvel cinematic universe exploded did it become cool to be into it. And now there's an explosion in popularity when it comes to nerd culture, because back in the day, being into video games or comic books was looked down on. Now it is mainstream pop culture and everyone loves it. So I think a lot of the people that didn't collect comic books back in the day or never had an interest in it are now fans after watching the movie, and they are now interested in going back and collecting all of the old comic books, and that is also contributing to the scarcity and increasing the cost or the value, perceived value anyways, of these comic books. And I think overall it's a good thing that more people are into it, because it helps us all enjoy our hobby more, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just frustrating sometimes, and I just wanted to vent a little bit about the current situation when books are selling for astronomical prices that used to sell for a fraction a few years ago. But it's really all I had today. I just wanted to vent a little bit, and thanks for listening. Bye.